Welcome to edition 400 of VoIP Intel VUC VoIP Users Conference at VUC.me. We get together every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. We've got some really talented people that sponsor the conference. For example, Voxeo Labs, and they're offering Tropo.com, among other things. Great way to get started in doing VoIP applications. And if you're running your own system, you'll want to talk to Sangoma at Sangoma.com. Take a look at their offering of world-class hardware and software. Speaking of running your own PBX, why should you when you've got OnSIP.com? They've been with us for a number of years. They've been members of the community for a number of years. OnSIP.com. Terrific hosted PBX. Got phones or anything else you need in hardware? Call Michael White over at E4 Strategies. Shout out to Jason, too. Hey, Jason. Everybody over there is absolutely brilliant. They'll fix it for you. If you can't get it working, they'll do whatever's necessary to make it happen. ZipDX. David Frankel, thank you for ZipDX.com. Full-featured wideband conference bridge. Amazing. Try it. And let's not forget Voxbone. Voxbone.com with R48 dial-ins. Big show today, folks, because this is edition number 400 of the VUC. You believe it? 400. That's, almost 6 years. Well, 5 plus a few months. Okay. But it's a lot. What have you done 400 times in your life? Think about that while we're talking to the folks from AG Projects. That's a lot of times, right? Adrian Georgescu is here with us. Adrian, welcome. We love Blink. We're talking to the ZipDX bridge right now on Blink. And as you know, I have bridged a conference for 14 straight hours on Blink, where we literally use Blink to do the conference, nothing else. Brilliant.
Hi, Randy. How are you? Thanks for inviting me here again. It's a pleasure to hear from end users of our product that are very satisfied, and it's great to be back actually here with all of you again. So. I'm here together with Saul Ibarra, my colleague.
Hi there. Thanks for inviting me as well. It's always good to show to people what we've been working with for these past few months, let's say.
It's good to see you again, Saul. We actually met at a MooCon, if I'm not mistaken, and Adrian was there, right?
Yeah. Our first visual contact, at least with me, it was at a MooCon, yeah, in Rostock a few years ago, yeah. Mm-hmm. We had that cheesy party.
Yeah.
That is fun. Does David Duffett still hear us? Or has he...
I can hear you. It's a little bit...
There he is! Thank you, sir. You copy us. Okay. We may be talking about AstraCon a little later in the edition here, David, but it's nice to see you.
Yeah, I'm pleased to be here, and it's nice to see all these other guys too.
And by the way, could you arrange those dossiers in back of you so that the colors coordinate correctly? Because you got a lot of blues next to the green. I just want to do a quick intro to say hi to James Bodie, who's a regular. James, thanks for joining us. We'll be getting together at AstraCon. David, are you going, by the way?
I shall be there, yes. Very much looking forward to it.
Well, we'll get there early. We're going to do a pre-thing. And also Maxim from Switzerland, who can't come. He's in Zurich, too far. But he may be on the phone or something, too. Anyway, Adrian, quick question on Blink, because I know we're going to be talking about SylkServer, but I saw you on Twitter, I think, announce Blink, a new version, or a version of Linux. Was there a version before, or not?
Well, we're in a software release frenzy this week that culminated with today. So we tweeted a lot today, and it fortunately also was finished. The work was finished before the show. So things we're going to present here is already available for people to test out. So it's a great opportunity to present very fresh stuff, as fresh as software being released a few hours ago, pure by coincidence.
But was there already I can't remember if there was already a Linux version of Blink or not.
Yes, there was, and there is a version of Blink for Linux. There is a version of Blink for Windows, and of course for Mac. And most of the features are first released on Mac, and once the Mac features are completed, we look towards having the same feature set on the other platforms. So Linux lags a bit behind. Nevertheless, it's up to date with regards to all the bug fixes that is available in the Mac version as well. It just has less features, and today we have released Blink for latest Ubuntu versions, namely the precise version, which was not supported prior, and the one before it, I forgot its name, Shaul. Which one is it?
Lucid. That one we, well, for Ubuntu now we support Nati, Oneric, and Lucid.
So there are three main, the last three distributions. So our packages are ready for download. So anyone using Linux, Ubuntu, these last three versions are able to use Blink today.
And also the ones running Debian stable or Debian unstable. So it's 3 Ubuntus and 2 Debians, the ones that we provide packages for.
So today we indeed plan to talk about SylkServer, but the live demos will contain an overdose of Blink on Mac as well.
Good. My favorite one. Yeah, I'm just tweeting out the live URL, but the fact is people can watch on vuc.me/live, L-I-V-E. I'm going to embed them also in the 2 blocks while you folks are talking. So go ahead. Let's get started. Blink has been around for how long, by the way, Adrian? A couple of years, I would guess.
We started a few years ago. I lost track. 3 years ago? 4 years ago?
December 2009, first release.
Right.
He remembers the pain.
So, yeah, we are now 3 years full-time busy with it, and just this week we have completed a major milestone, which, however, is not yet visible. But Blink is just a graphical user interface. There is something underneath that does all the good stuff, and that is the main library used by Blink, and now it's also shared with SylkServer. And this communality actually makes a rich experience when they work together. So we have worked a lot in the library that is for the library that is used by both SylkServer and Blink. That's where the mechanics of the interactions of the various protocols happen. And to get that right, it's really not easy. Real-time communication is quite a complex issue, and it involves well, almost every internet technology you can imagine, really. So you have to put all these pieces together, glue them in something that looks like just a simple button on a screen. But behind that little button, you can get it right or wrong, and we wanted to do it right. So we took the time to complete some steps which are kind of invisible. And now we are happy that these steps have been completed, so we will be able to focus more on the user interface and the end-user experience rather than just the network side of things or the library side of things. So in 3 years' time, we were able to make releases, but also continue the development for all these 3 versions on the 3 operating systems. And we've seen that the client itself cannot deliver a full experience as Skype delivers unless you also solve some network related issues. So if you don't have a good server on the server side of things, there is functionality that the client employs, and if the server is not there or doesn't perform properly, also the client is crippled, or at least the end user perceives that the client doesn't work. So while developing Blink, we also worked on the development and refining on various server elements in SIP realm that make possible features that are beyond voice over IP. which was our main goal from the start. We didn't want to make another soft phone. That's why we never called Blink a soft phone. We called it a generic client, because SIP is, as a protocol, is agnostic for the type of media, and indeed people use it a lot for VoIP, voice over IP, but you can do far more with it. So at day one in 2009, December, we had instant messaging, session-based instant messaging using MSRP media. We had file transfer, the first using a SIP client, and we later added screen sharing. Now with the current works that we have just completed into the libraries that Blink is using, we will be able to also provide presence. And presence is, we consider, one of the most important aspects of having a successful real-time communications client. And this is why many private services, closed gardens, the internet services offered by companies like Yahoo and Google. For a long time they were closed solutions, and they were very successful, and Skype as well. And I think the commonality for their success was the fact that people could see their availability in a blink of an eye. So the state, whether you are busy, whether you're offline, whether you can leave a note that you are away, or this contributed a lot to enhance the communication between internet users. And this component was missing for a long time from SIP-Real. It was standardized, everything was there for many years, but people didn't spend time on implementing it. So we wanted to set the record straight and make something that when originally SIP was designed, people had precisely these things in mind, but unfortunately everyone went to do VoIP-based solutions because the business was there. Now that business is dying, so we see that the phone numbers become less and less relevant, and applications beyond VoIP are a must. So if you don't meet the minimum interoperability criteria, which is like instant messaging or voice, you're just not able to compete anymore, just with voice alone. So we wanted Blink to be to compete in this world with large players, and of course we don't have the manpower, but we took the time. So we're getting pretty close to any commercial-based offering and traditional successful commercial service. We will be able to offer something similar, but in an open source model, and also using open standards. So these many years we spent, we see now the fruits are kind of ready to be picked, and our user base is increasing. We have about 200,000 Blink downloads so far, and it may not rival with number of users for Skype, but it's a permanently growing trend. So that means we're doing something right. So my colleague Saul had a lot of initiatives, and we've seen this possibility to take some of his ideas with what we had and merge them into something new. For instance, SylkServer appeared, just because it was a symbiotic. We just had a merge of ideas, of enthusiasm, and possibilities. So Saul really picked up the loose ends and pretty quickly set up together something that combined a lot of separate, complicated elements, and we had a first multi-party conferencing solution in quite a short period developed. I will let Saul talk about it, how it actually started, the whole SylkServer project.
Yeah, hi. So once we did have the client, as Adrian said, there's some stuff that you can only deliver in the server in a nice way, and we were aware of the standards. For example, when you're talking at a conference, as somebody else was pointing out before, it's like, oh, is somebody in or somebody not in? Well, knowing this is vital for having this kind of conferencing experience. So there was, and there is a standard to know this. However, nobody had implemented it yet. And we did have this engine, which we use for Blink. And we had an old project, which was the first open source MSRP switch, I think, that was like a chat server. Now, because it was too old, we needed to bring it up to date. And at that point in time, of course, we used our own dog food. So we built it with this library. And by that time, it had evolved so much that building it took me less than a week. So within less than a week, there was a working application that could do audio and chat mixing amongst, well, several participants. So that was a good start. Then, of course, since we had the building blocks on the server side, we started working with all these standards that were not implemented to add the ability to know which people were in the room at the time and what type of media they were using. If they were on hold, they have chat, they have audio, they are sharing their screen. We wanted to show this to the people, so we worked on that, and we launched SylkServer 1.0 in March, I think, or something, after working on it for a few months. And ever since, both Adrian and I kept pushing for these standards on the server side in many conferences. And I'm very happy to say that finally this year, I saw something happening. I went to a ClueCon, and there they announced FreeSwitch's latest version, which include this particular feature as well. So somebody listened. And
yeah, it's good to have adoption beyond our laboratory and user base.
Yeah, at some point we felt a bit alone. Like, okay, we test with ourselves. We wonder if it works with other people. And well, of course, they used Blink for testing because so far there is no other client that I know of implementing these conferencing standards. Now, while we were building this whole server for SIP, it became apparent that we could use it for some other stuff, somehow linking with SIP. And because of this, SylkServer was from the start perceived as a SIP application server more than a conference server, even though the first and only application for a while was the conference itself. Now, the framework was there, and well, I added some silly applications for the FOSDEM, I think, like the Chuck Norris Messenger, and some other stuff, so that people could actually see the potential of the framework. But we brought it to the next level with SylkServer 2.0, which we released earlier today. In this new release, we added the XMPP gateway, which was a huge milestone for us because, as Adrian said, presence is kind of a critical thing. If you have VoIP and you have IM, that's very nice, but when can I start the conversation? It's kind of the big deal, and the presence helps me know when, because if you are green, I got the green light, I can talk to you. Now, at some point in time, in 2004, Google was looking for a messaging solution, and at that time the SIP industry wasn't ready to deliver, so they picked XMPP, and then they needed voice, and they invented Jingle on top of it. So that's a huge user base, and the SIP world with regards to presence and IM is not as big as XMPPs. So we need to talk to those guys. There's a lot of people in the XMPP world using Google's interface in Gmail, which are able to exchange messages, which is the same as we can do. It's just that they are in another protocol. Now, how to talk to them has been a problem that many have tackled in the past. However, we tried to approach it from a different angle. All the specifications or written documents or implementation attempts that have been done imply some sort of explicit gateway mechanism in which I need to somehow signal that you are on XMPP and I am on SIP, so that somebody in the middle does some magic. That's what we didn't want, because you don't know. You just want to chat to somebody. You just add people to your address book. So you put their Gmail domain. So what? You still need to see their presence, send IM to them, talk to them. Now, so we built the SylkServer XMPP gateway in such a way that it is transparent. So you basically would communicate with a Gmail person by just sending an instant messaging request to whomever at gmail.com, and then your own SylkServer
point to
will...
make. I think we have to emphasize about the importance of addressing, because many of the solutions developed in SIP have been crippled by the always present requirement to handle phone numbers. And once you get rid of this requirement, suddenly you find a lot of freedom to do stuff. So the nice thing about XMPP is that it's using a classic internet address in user domain format, same as SIP, except that in SIP this has been abused. The username part has been abused for only for phone numbers a lot. So people lost sight of the actual addressing capability of SIP, which is user at domain. So both are perfectly compatible. Both protocols, SIP and XMPP, use the same addressing scheme. And SIP has a large VoIP installed base. XMPP has a large instant messaging and presence base. And the requirements are the same in both sides. There is not a single operator who would not like to have full experience of chat and presence offered by XMPP in the SIP side. This is what all these IMS and RCS initiatives are all about, except they got it all wrong with regards to architecture from the server side. But both protocols, we see them that are adopted by any operator, whether it's a closed garden on a public service on the internet or a carrier network. It is either SIP or XMPP on their border. So the way they interact with the outside world, regardless of what they use internally, is one of these two protocols. So now, because things go beyond VoIP, and VoIP alone is not enough, also as a business, just inter-carrier relationships, don't make as much money as in the past. Basically, suddenly you realize that end users just don't use those solutions anymore just because they lack basic interoperability for what Skype offers today or Gmail account offers today, that is chat and voice together in the same package. And presence binds them together end-to-end. So if you have two parties end-to-end, regardless of what technologies they use, they share this. The minimum common denominator today for establishing communication is chat, audio, and the availability of presence information. So we want to be a citizen of the world as far as our SIP client is concerned. And that meant that we had to have exactly the same feature set that the people are used to in Skype side and Google side, and that is XMPP on the Google side. So these protocols are translatable one-to-one, actually. All these primitives exist in both sides. So it is very easy to craft a gateway, really, to do it. If you just forget about the phone numbers and all the routing requirements, and you just follow the internet principle, the trapezoid model, and don't pollute it with useless network elements. So this has been the criteria by which we made the software, and also transparent in the sense that we don't try to understand what the user does. We just want to make sure we translate all possible things from both protocols as much as is possible without breaking anything, because of course the transparency has to be of course compensated by the interoperability. You can't translate everything, so you have to take some decisions. What can I translate, what can I not? But right now we're able to interface on all features with Gmail accounts. So it's really like being on Gmail, except that I have my own SIP address and I use my own client and I'm sitting in my own domain. But my experience is the same as if I would be logged in on an XMPP server on the provider on the other side. So all these requirements that in the end ended up being implemented in SylkServer allows us to have a seamless experience, so you don't care which protocol you use. Most of the solutions developed so far focused either on voice or on some crazy address translation mechanism with different domains and different numbers and different ranges and different users have to be aware that they initiate the connection towards a user with another protocol or another addressing scheme someplace else. And in real life, this doesn't work. Nobody thinks about how to connect or how to formulate an address in order to connect to a different user on a different protocol island. So with Silk, you don't have to think about this. If I just put in Blink, which is a SIP client, I type in a user domain address. Through the magic of Silk, practically it doesn't matter if the call terminates or the session establishes on SIP side or on XMPP side. Everything just happens without the user having to know, how is the remote domain working, whether they use one or other protocols.
A funny example with this was that while we were working on this, because everything works with DNS to figure out the remote domains service, at some point we switched it on in our own domain and didn't tell anyone. And suddenly I saw on the gateway presence requests from XMPP endpoints to our SIP domains. So people already had SIP addresses in their address book or their buddy list. In your Android phone, whatever you add is a possible Google Talk buddy. So this is the kind of experience we want to deliver, where you don't need to think about where you put the address. If you, oh, wait a second, this is a SIP address, so let me open my SIP client and save it there. It's like, no, let me open my Blink client. I put the address there, and suddenly, yes, I'm able to see his presence and talk to him and have a conference with him. This is somehow the idea.
And we wanted to make a difference, as I said. These gateways exist today. There are various solutions to do so-called XMPP to SIP gatewaying, but they are either restricted pure to signaling, just to translate presence, for instance, or when they do support audio, it's about one-to-one audio. And as far as chat is concerned, I don't think there is any solution out there except ours, because there are very few real chat clients in the SIP world. Like Blink does chat, but other clients in the open domain, I don't know any.
Well, chat, what Adrian means by chat is IM-based chat, that is MSRP protocol. SylkServer also supports SIP message, that's a so-called pager mode, whatever. But it's not session-based, so it's more like an SMS from a mobile.
Mechanism with no way.
So there's no correlation between messages, no ordering, no anything. So for the fire and forget messages, it's fine. But for a long-lived conversation, we find that session-based IM is a killer in that aspect. Actually, this is what XMPP does, though in a slightly weird way. Like sessions are, let's say, implicit and based on time, for example. That's one of the ways to do it. So, well, dealing with the differences between both protocols was something we had to do. But in the end, today we were able to release a piece of software that is able to seamlessly translate presence between both protocols. So no need to configure anything. You just need to say for which domain you want this to work, and that's all you need to configure. So it's zero-conf in that regard. We also translate sessions with instant messaging sessions, and also SylkServer is able to act as a conferencing server for XMPP clients. So you're able to host a conference.
This is a major difference with any other solution, which either doesn't do all the media, or in this case, we went a step even beyond that. So we're able to do multi-party conferencing across multiple users from both domains. So with a SIP client or an XMPP client, you can join a multi-party conference, and this works the same way in both sides. They don't even know the participants are in one domain or another. It just works, and it's something that we would like to demo right now, actually. So is it okay to start a demo now?
Absolutely. This is the perfect time.
All right. So I will do screen sharing with my desktop. Let's see how this works. Google Hangouts, screen share, all desktops, share selected window. Okay.
Nice mirror effect there.
Okay, this is our website. I will put it first here so people can copy the name and see where the software is found. Can you guys confirm that my screen is visible?
Yep, it's good.
Okay, so the software is available at SylkServer.com. That's the domain where you can surf with the web browser. There is a lot of documentation available, but practically the website will give you a download link so you can install the server on various platforms, namely Mac and Linux systems. We didn't make a Windows port, but that's not something we consider critical. Nobody asked for it. Generally speaking, people run the software on Linux. So the SylkServer has capabilities which are listed on this main website, namely about SIP signaling, XMPP, capabilities for voice over IP, for instant messaging. So those are building blocks made in those libraries that we developed in the last couple of years. So now all those libraries are binded together in the case of SylkServer in what we call applications. And one such application is multi-party conferencing, where multiple parties can join an ad hoc room and do multi-party conferencing for, right now, 4 types of media. That is wideband audio, session-based chat, file transfers, and screen sharing. The screen sharing part is not standardized, so it's an extension we added and we support it in Blink. Unfortunately, there is no common standard for how to do screen sharing. So that's, let's say, a proprietary addition, but well documented. So multi-party conferencing was the first application of Blink from day one, and is being used right now. We see that the number of downloads are going up, so people were just happy with just this application alone was something very useful. And the beauty of it and the reason people used it is that it was easy to use. Practically, the server has 0 configuration. You download it and you run it. You don't have to change a single configuration item. All defaults are crafted in such a way that everything just works. So you don't have to understand anything. You just use it. We wanted to apply the same principle for the XMPP gateway. And there, of course, you end up, because you have to bridge 2 words, you definitely need at least to, put the proper DNS records, have a domain name that you put in DNS and you declare as being used for either protocol, and then the gateway should be aware of it. So the second application, today we launched SylkServer 2.0, and practically the second major application is the gateway. And I will go to an address where the gateway is documented. And by surfing here on this wiki website we have at SylkServer, agprojects.com. Here we have documented how the gateway was designed.
Let me make a point here. There was the problems we faced when we were doing this actually were because nobody had done this in a transparent way, or people had lost interest, I guess. All documents that were available related to this particular functionality that is gatewaying are dated from 2008. So, well, once we got it working and we scratched our heads on when you actually need to take a decision, we documented them there, and we also passed them along to people involved in the IETF, because actually...
and the XMPP Foundation.
Oh, exactly, and the XMPP Foundation, because actually there has been some traction in this area lately, so people are interested in knowing if there is a global interest in bringing those interoperability documents up to date in such a way that, well, people can actually build gateways in such a way that everyone builds the same thing.
Let's start with the demo, and then we come back to these items, I guess. Okay, so I will share my screen. I think my screen is there, but it's not focused. Randy, how can I focus on my screen?
You need to go to the screen share and select a window.
I did that. I just oh, there is a lag. I was monitoring the feed, so it was a bit behind. Okay.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're focused.
Okay, right now on my screen there are 2 clients actually. We have a SIP client on the left, which is Blink, And we have iChat, which is an Apple client. And I have a Gmail account loaded in iChat. They look almost the same, and practically it's easy to use both of them, we hope. So here is the SIP side, here is the XMPP side. Now, wouldn't it be great to have something in the middle that allows them to communicate with each other? Well, in the case of Blink, we have possibility to start multi-party conferencing by going to the menu Call. Let's take this account I set up for this. Join conference. I use the test room. I'll not get involved with audio right now because I'll lose the feed. So right now I have a chat window where I'm actually part of a conference room. Let's see who is there. Shaul, can you join?
Yeah.
Okay. So here we have on the left a drawer that shows us the participants in this conversation, and you can see here that we have already 3 participants. And by looking at their address, I can tell that this is a sip2sip.info. It's of course a SIP domain, and Shagul just joined from Gmail. And I'll show you how easy it is to do by using iChat. I go to the menu File, go to Chat Room, saved it here. I can do Go. So this is a window in iChat, in Apple iChat, that will connect to the same address, which, by the way, we can perhaps type it in the IRC room on anyone with a client, with an XMPP client. With the same Blink, I'm able to join the IRC channel as well in VUC. So if anyone can go to this address as a chat room, practically they can join our conference room here. Let's see. So you can see here I have a body added, which is actually AG attest sip2sip.info, which is actually the same account I have here on the left side in Blink. And my presence is actually, I will say here, next week I'll be in Chicago presenting about SylkServer as well. So I can change my present state about it. I set a note here, and you can see it on the right side, which is actually in a Gmail account. I have the same status note, so practically I'm able to translate whatever presence information I set in the client on the left, it appears on the right. So presence works bidirectionally. I'm able to exchange this presence information from XMPP to SIP and vice versa, and it works transparent in the sense that as a XMPP user, I don't have to know that this user and domain address is served by a SIP server through a gateway somewhere. I just add it in my roster. Same is valid for Blink. Practically here in Blink, I can add a contact, and I can associate any type of address with a contact, whether it's a SIP or an XMPP or some other thing in the form of user at domain. If I put it here, at that moment, the whole magic happens under the hood. So as an end user, you just copy-paste URIs left and right. It works the same whether you are on XMPP or on SIP. It's transparent as far as the end user experience is concerned.
But one more thing to add there. On the screen you show there, can you show it again, the add contact panel? So the fact that that you can assign a label to a URI doesn't mean that the client does anything.
Yeah, that's so purely a label, so that for me it's useful to know whether it's just a label. What is important, it's the address, and the label is just for me an indication, but it's just a friendly label, not used for routing indeed. So this capability that we have on the left side, you can see in the panel here in the drawer actually all the participants. Oh, I can see somebody that joined, Maxim. Hi, Maxim. That's great to see new people. So on the SIP side, we have far more functionality that we're going to trickle down on the XMPP side as well. For instance, with SIP here, we can do multi-party screen sharing. So if I just let me take. I can do like a quick screenshot with a selected area. A very convenient tool when you do, when you work together in a small team. Just one click, I actually did a file upload in the conference room, and this is available for everyone to download in the room with just a click of a mouse. So it's very easy to share in a multi-party environment, files, pictures, everything. And then the XMPP world has the same capability. This is not yet implemented in the gateway, but it's on the roadmap and easy to add. So practically, this would be possible to be done in both worlds. So every party can drop a file. Anyone can fetch it. We can also do complete screen sharing in multi-party mode. So here, this is a built-in screen sharing feature of Blink. With SylkServer, I can choose a window, same like you do in Google+. I can choose the entire desktop, or I can choose a specific window, and I can share it with all the participants there. So you can see here that this user shares his desktop and has chat capability. I can also add audio, and this is where things get really useful. I'm not going to do this because I will lose audio here. So practically, you can do multi-party conferencing for every media except video. And the same capability will be possible to do with the XMPP side. So right now we have a subset of these things implemented. All of it works for SIP. And on the XMPP side, we have multi-party chat. We have one-to-one chat. And we have presence both ways. So our roadmap contains Jingle. That means adding audio capability to the bridge. That would allow us to do one-to-one audio conversation by just right-click. On the left side here, I can do, let's take Saul. I can pick any URI specific, and I can say start an audio session to this URI, and it will just work as if it is SIP, no difference. Basically, for any kind of media that we're able to translate. Practically, you can achieve complete interoperability for all media in the end, and once we have video, we'll do that as well. And the nice thing about these protocols is that they use the same media plane for audio and video. They use the same net reversal methodology, namely ICE. So it's easy to expand in the future the gateway with other features. Once you have the major building blocks in place, and we have them already, these are RTP transport and MSRP transport. The RTP transport makes possible audio and video, and the MSRP transport makes possible chat, file transfer, and any type of application that requires end-to-end reliable media transmission. Like screen sharing is using MSRP media. So practically with this capability, we have a far more rich capability than any XMPP client right now. Because you can do everything an XMPP client can do, but even better. And when it comes to multi-party conferencing, Blink alone acts much more user-friendly than any XMPP client out there. And of course, people will not switch to Blink just because it's cooler. And with this functionality, practically they will be able to import their roster and do stuff the way they are used to without even having to deal with the difference of the two protocols. They don't have to be aware of it. It will just work. And you can use this under your own domain, in your own company, and you can have your own private communication island, and if you want to breach out, it will be perfectly interoperable with any SIP endpoint or XMPP endpoint. So with this demonstration, I showed just a few of the capabilities, and I'm glad that also people from outside joined our room, like Maxim. So you could see that people from different domains were able to meet somewhere in the middle on the internet by using the pure open standards methodology standardized by the IETF. And I think this is a great achievement because this was not possible unless you're a customer of Skype or a customer of Google or a customer of a big corporation that had hundreds of engineers to engineer those complex systems and real-time communication gardens. And this is now possible with software which becomes standard available with every Linux distribution. So this is not a toy anymore. It's not something people like said, oh, that SIP client, it's a joke, or you can't use that for SIP. And this is not true. Today we have finally all these building blocks. And because they are pure internet design, like email, it's not something that will just disappear or vanish in the near future, like many said. Oh, SIP is something that temporarily will be here, then it will go away because nobody needs a VoIP termination. So practically SIP. It's a generic protocol like XMPPs as well, and both are here to stay. And the need for interoperability just grows. And there is not a who wins this battle. It's not a battle. You'll definitely see both protocols. And unless you interoperate with everyone, and this is the interoperability, is not just SIP. In the past, for voice alone, SIP was the way to interoperate with other carriers. But if you do multimedia, unless you have both capabilities, SIP and XMPP, you will not be able to compete. And this is something that helps us design our solution in a way. This strategy actually made possible to get here, because we wanted to have an open system using open standards that stands the test of time. And 2 months ago, we celebrated 10 years in business by pursuing this strategy, and I hope it will still hold from now on. So my demo is over.
Congratulations on the 10 years. That's excellent.
Thank you very much. So,
time for any questions?
Okay with time? Are we okay with time, Randy?
Sure, plenty of time. We have the satellite is paid for the next couple of hours, so we're good.
Okay.
Jerry's with us, but only in still photography. Paul, you have any questions?
No,
I'm
a little bit late at the party there.
What are we talking about? Okay.
Interestingly watching, but...
Okay, let's see if anybody on IRC.
We are on IRC as well, with Blink. Again, same Blink can be used to join the IRC channel.
Through SylkServer as well.
And we can show the IRC like this. So we're talking about wasting bandwidth, right? Look at this. So there's a big fat text of the IRC that's costing how much to send out? I don't know, billions. According to 20K, according to my the reading on the gauge of the Mac. 20K out. Yeah, well, it would be because it's not moving. Anyway, David, any comments? He's looking. Well, listen, if that's it, we're good.
Yeah, we have this issue that we launch stuff that just work. Nobody has any question. That's also something. Sometimes you get no feedback if things work just too well.
Yeah, no,
the only way to improve.
I think it's great. It's great.
Well, you don't get away that easily, Adrian.
There you go.
Yeah, I kind of recall we were doing XMPP SIP conferencing about 5 years ago using FreeSwitch. It would be really useful if you can just emphasize how different the SylkServer product is from that. And I think you've already alluded to it by saying that the SylkServer just works out of the box.
Yeah, so if you can imagine how easy it is to use it. Let's say you need a conference server to do multi-party conferencing, and in this case, let's say you want to have XMPP bridge capability. Saul, what can you tell us? What do you need to do if you want to deploy this?
Well, you need to download the software, edit one file, add your domain, add your DNS records, of course, and you're done.
So there is no setting about protocols, about ports, about numbers, about tables, about databases. There is not a single setting that you need.
So the defaults are saying, and also the difference between the approach that FreeSwitch did is that they basically encourage you to have these sort of contacts in your address book, like for example, Adrian at x2s.agprojects.com for XMPP SIP, and also S2X for the reverse. So somehow you need to give an indication to the server, like, what do you want to do with this request? Now, because that's nobody will ever craft an address book in such a way, we went for this transparent approach where the server tries to know better and routes the request to the right realm. And this is the key difference, that you just put it behind your proxy. So SylkServer is not designed to handle traffic directly, because in the end you already have SIP proxies doing accounting, authentication, and all that. So you just put it behind, route the request to it, and it will do the gateway in bit.
Right. So by design policy, who is allowed to route the calls to it, who is allowed to initiate calls, who is allowed to invite participants, you can leave this to the standard configuration of a SIP proxy that takes all these AAA decisions.
Okay, what about the footprint for SylkServer? What kind of resource is a simple configuration consuming?
It's really, of course, if you load it, you have issues, but otherwise, just to install the software, any computer will just do fine. You can mix, I don't know, 30, 40 audio calls on any decent computer today, and if you do just chat and presence, it scales, I don't know. I have no actual figures, but I would like to see more usage before people getting scared about possible scalability issues with it.
With regards to chat and presence, that's which basically just use TCP or UDP. This uses the same technology used by, well, actually uses the Twisted library in the backend, which is sort of like, for example, similar to the model used by Node.js. This is known to be the way to solve the C10K problem, the 10,000 connection problem. So I didn't set 10,000 connections, of course, but the model in which it works is built to be scalable in that regard. When you put audio into the mix, that's a CPU-intensive task, which of course brings things down. But with when we're strictly speaking about IM and presence gateway in between SIP and XMPP endpoints, the numbers are very high.
Yeah, so the load will come if you mix audio, and that's in the context of a multi-party conference. That's the component for which you always need infinite resources if you just want to scale up the bridge. But everything else, which is one-to-one sessions, which is typical usage of SylkServer, will be, you know, just to install it and session will flow through it and nobody would care. You know, all the presence indications from my domain to all the XMPP domains will just go through it. And I don't expect it to overload. Of course, we have to see what are the figures, but until we see real usage, we're not concerned.
Okay. When you've got media on there, voice, do you transcode as well when you have?
Yes. Yes. Otherwise, you cannot accommodate multiple codecs. Yes, you have to transcode. That's where the load is actually, and what the reason for the load.
And I'm guessing that SylkServer will support all of the codecs that Blink supports.
Yes.
Yes.
Actually, the codecs we support are inherited from PJ Media project, and we support 5 or 6 of them, but we prefer G722 as first priority for wideband and G711 for high compatibility, and there are other codecs you can enable, but practically G722 and G711 covers most of the requirements.
Yeah, you haven't felt tempted to implement AMR wideband at all?
Well, it's because it's a library we use and it's not our development, so we didn't develop the codecs ourselves. We rely on an external library. We didn't spend any time whatsoever into this area.
Okay.
Well, at some point in time, we plan to bring up to date the core we use right now with a more recent version of PJSIP, and I know for a fact that that it is now possible to embed Intel's codec implementations into PJSIP, and that does include AMR WB. So we will probably explore the possibilities of adding codecs that were not possible to have before. However, there are also licensing issues that need to be sorted out, because you can't just ship software with G729, for example, and somebody may get upset.
Some of the codecs will conflict with the fact that our solution is if you want to deploy it on a Debian system, you have to be GPL compliant. Our solution is GPL compliant, whereas embedding proprietary codecs, it's something which adds a lot of legal ramifications to a software distribution. The original problem of software distribution becomes, tainted by legal issues.
Indeed. Well, it looks like you've done a really good job as usual, Adrian. I guess we're going to see a lot of people using SylkServer over the next 12 months.
Well, we have on the roadmap pretty soon we'll make it available in the App Store for Mac, so you can run it on your Mac, and you'll have the privilege to pay for it.
Oh yeah, how much?
Well, the pricing is not yet decided, but it will not be a scary number. So
I better get it downloaded quickly before you decide to start charging money for it.
No, actually, it will be the GUI that and the easy of installation. Otherwise, you'd be able to download the software and run it yourself in a console. If you feel that it's nice, you can do it. But it will add a bit of a convenience of installing it, running it nicely in a nice window.
It also, one of the intents of the version that goes on the App Store is basically bring the functionality of ad hoc conferencing in your local network. So this new version of SylkServer also has
functionality will be really cool. You'll love it. So what we'll do? Imagine you have Blink installed on your Mac, and you have everyone in your company using it. With SylkServer in the middle, practically you are able to do multi-party conferencing in your company without the availability of any SIP server anywhere. So you don't even have to be registered in Bonjour mode. You'll just discover your neighbors, including SylkServer rooms themselves. So you'll be able to just drag and drop stuff, and you can create multi-party conferencing from your address book directly. You don't have to even know where the server is. It's just in the list of neighbors in Bonjour list in Blink. And there is nothing to configure. You just launch the server, one or more if you want, and all of them show up there in the Bonjour list, and you can just create conferences with drag and drop on them.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You know what? SylkServer is going in my box of useful components.
Thank you.
Good to hear.
Way to compliment, James.
Well, it's a very big box with lots of stuff in, but it'll sit in there along with Blink, which actually is very useful, I have to say.
It will be more useful in the next release 2.0 when Presence will be there. So suddenly all your contacts will light up, and you can add Gmail accounts and stuff, and they will just work. And again, it will just work by magic.
And those who were paying attention have already seen this in Adrian's screen earlier. His contact list looked like a Christmas tree.
It did. Christmas came early to your desktop. So we're burbling. Go on, Randy.
I think it's time to close the broadcast portion out and go to the version for immature audiences only. James, what do you think?
Are there no questions from the ZipGX conference bridge, just to prove that it works?
That's a good point.
There must be somebody there who can, just to prove that we have the technology.
Oh, there's plenty of people there. Plenty of people there.
Sure, I'll go old school.
Active participants. I don't see anybody trying to be unmuted.
Steve said something.
Steve.
Or the 804 number. Bit of noise from there.
Yeah.
So who's that with the 804 number?
That's me.
Who's me?
Jamie.
Hello,
So,
Jamie.
My question for the guy, the SIP server that's going to interoperate here needs to support SIP simple. And David, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that Asterisk supports SIP simple at this point. So what's the recommended SIP server to put beside Silk?
Okay, so all our development is done in combination with server components from projects we are part of, and it's just we're affiliated with certain brands, but there should be this is standards based. It should work everywhere. But our solutions have been tested against OpenSIPs and OpenXCAP and MSRP Relay. If you want to do chat one-to-one, which in the end doesn't involve SylkServer, you need the relay for net reversal purposes. If you want to do all chat sessions through SylkServer, you can, but then everything is a multi-party conference rather than one-to-one chat. You can use actually SylkServer standalone as a gateway. Whether your SIP server has support for certain standards, it's not a requirement for SylkServer, it's a requirement for that particular SIP server. So you have a client, you have the SylkServer, and your question is whether you need something in between to support those features. And of course you do. If your SIP operator or your SIP solution doesn't allow you to initiate chat sessions or file transfers, of course the SylkServer will not receive any of these messages from the client.
Also,
So what
Asterisk
SIP
doesn't
server are you
support
guys
chat these days anyway, so. Sorry, come again?
So what SIP server is SIP2SIP.info based on today?
OpenSIPs. It's OpenSIPs 1.8 development version we have. And all these changes we made for support for presence and all this SIP simple functionality, we'll push them into the main tree pretty soon.
Very nice, thank you.
Well, that worked quite well, didn't
All right,
it?
with that, I think we'll close this out as far as the broadcast goes. Unless David, you're here. Let's get David Duffett from the UK to make his announcement, because I'm looking at this link and it's a Facebook link and I don't know what to do.
Okay.
Give us a line on that, David. Yes.
You can hear me. Okay. Well, that's real good. Thanks, Randy. We've got just a thing going on at the moment where we're itching to give away the new Digium phones to people. And if you go to that link, that Facebook link, there's out there on the IRC, there's an ability to fill in some details, tag your friends, and possibly win a Digium phone.
Let me just see if there's...
What model of Digium phone would that be, David?
Yeah, what model?
It starts with the D40 there, James.
Okay. Well, that's definitely worth having. D40.
They're not a bad piece of phone. In fact, I could run and show you one on the video if you'd like.
Well, go on then, because we're live. Go on. How are we doing for time, Randy?
No problem. No, we're good.
It brings back
Here's that link.
of what I
Actually, all I could put my hands on was a D50 for now. Can you see that at all?
Hold it up.
Hold it up.
Bit more.
Yeah, I've got quite a severe lag here. I'm holding it up.
Higher. That's okay. Higher.
Now that looks like a very smart branded bit of Digium kit, doesn't it?
Nice.
Not as nice as
Back a little bit.
What was the name of the young lady who demonstrated it a couple of weeks ago? She was
Angie.
I know the exact young lady you mean. I expect it was Tristan.
It was, and she did a
No,
brilliant
Angie
job.
Reid, no?
No, it wasn't Angie, was it?
Well, Angie
there's two lovely young ladies that do those demos. There's Angie Reid and there's Tristan Barnum.
I think it's Tristan. But anyway,
listen, I need to head off, but it's great to hear from those Blink guys, and I guess we'll be seeing one or both at Astricon.
yeah. Are you going to Astricon, Adrian?
I don't plan to, not yet at least. I will be next week in Chicago at RTC conference, speaking there. If there is anyone in the area and attend the conference, I'll be happy to meet anyone there.
Okay, well, one of my little background activities. Oh, where's that noise coming from? It's coming from
Saul.
So
Yeah.
Careful.
noise. Yeah, one of my little background activities I did last year was counting the numbers of different clients that were being used in demos and things like that. And you'll be pleased to know, Adrian, that Blink won.
Oh, where was that?
That was at Astricon last year. So Blink was number 1, followed by Bria was number 2.
Wow, victory! That was one of my goals in the past to beat Bria.
So it's my unofficial chart. We'll see how Blink does this year at Astricon, and I'll let you know.
Thanks.
Okay, we're done.
All right, everybody. See you. Yeah, we're going to our private version here. Stay in the Hangout. It'll still be on, but for the rest of you, oops, wrong computer. 3 computers. No waiting. For the rest of you, there's this.
That was the VUC, located at vuc.me.
With a big thank you to Voxeo Labs, creators of Tropo.com, SMSify.com, Phono.com, and Sangoma, makers of world-class hardware and software for VoIP, Sangoma.com. OnSIP.com, our host at PBX and supporters of the VUC from the beginning. E4 Strategies, E4Strategies.com. Michael White is the hardest working guy in VoIP. Conference Bridge, ZipDX.com, full-featured, fantastic, full-color, and wideband conference bridge. And the world dial-ins at local rates, Voxbone.com. Okay, we go back to sleep now.